For just the third time in franchise history, the Birds will try to go 5-0. They went west to do so. It's the Battle of the Birds. Two mobile quarterbacks, only one walk out of State Farm Stadium with the W. In the words of Nick Sirianni, I trust Jalen. The Eagles defense is roaring to go. We'll get you set for kickoff in the desert. Welcome to the Kickoff Show, presented by Little Caesars. I'm Ella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy. A little different time today, 4:25 kick.
Yeah, a little bit of a later start. We'll see if the Eagles can continue their string of fast starts here in this game against a tough Arizona Cardinals team out in the desert.
Before we start breaking everything down for you for this matchup, let's take a look at the list of the Eagles' inactives for today. We know a bunch of Eagles went down in last week's game against the Jaguars. Most notably, we will not see today is left tackle Jordan Mailata, kicker Jake Elliott, and of course cornerback Avonte Maddox missing his second straight game. We're going to get into all of that in just a sec. But the Eagles fans out in Arizona, Fran, it is looking good.
No question. I think when you look at Eagles, look, when the schedule comes out in the spring, Eagles fans all get ready. What's going to be the big travel game? What's going to be the big travel game? We know that if the game is in New York, if it's down at FedEx Field against the Commanders, we know they're going to travel well. This game against Arizona, I know a lot of Eagles fans had this one circled, and they have shown up in droves in this game. There's going to be a lot of footage. You could even see in this shot. Look at all the Eagles green in the background. I can't wait to hear what this atmosphere sounds like.
It's awesome. All right, well, the Eagles are the only team in the NFL with a player in the top 5 of 3 offensive categories: a quarterback in passing yards, a receiver in receiving yards, a running back in rushing yards. Fran, they're excelling at every phase of the football. And another big opportunity today, facing an Arizona Cardinals team that's looking for a win. The NFC West, every team is 2-2, so the field is wide open. They want to get one here against undefeated Eagles.
Yeah, we've said it time and time again. You want your offense to feel like a Swiss Army knife. No matter what the problem is, you have a solution in your back pocket, and the Eagles have that. If you need to run the football, they can grind it out. If they need to throw the football out to the perimeter, you've got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You want to work the middle of the field to Dallas Goddard, you can do that. You've got the complementary weapons in the passing game with the running backs and with Jack Stoll, Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins. You can keep going down the list. The Eagles have answers to any question that opposing defenses are going to throw at them.
Now, A.J. Brown isn't looking ahead. He's in the here and now. That's the mindset heading into this afternoon.
Looking at the schedule, and it's just like, it's a week-to-week league. We're not thinking about no 17-0. We're thinking about 1-0 this week. No matter who we play on our schedule, we're going to get our best because, like I said, we go out here one time and we don't execute, then all hell breaks loose, and now everybody's talking about how bad we are or whatever. So we're not focused on one game at a time, and you have to stay like that. And no matter if just like he said, I started off high, one game at a time. I'm trying to make this week my best week.
Jalen Hurts, we're looking at him right now. He echoed A.J. Brown's sentiments.
I didn't get any questions about the Cardinals for real this game, so I don't want y'all thinking this is a really good team we're about to play. They have a really good defense, disruptive up front. They have speed on the back end, so let's not set the precedent for that. This is a good football team.
Jalen Hurts, number 5 in passing yards in the NFL. But I think what's most interesting about that stat, Fran, is there's only a 7-yard difference between Josh Allen, who sits at number 2, and Jalen Hurts at number 5. So the race is tight, but to think that he's in the conversation with guys who their game is always talked about their arm. Josh Allen, it's his arm, his arm, his arm. Jalen Hurts is right up there with him.
No, I think when you look at most improved players in the NFL coming into 2022, there's no question after the first month of the season, it's this guy. There's a reason why he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Month in the month of September with what he has done on the football field through 4 games. And I do love the context around that quote that we just showed, Ella. That was after his press conference had ended. You and I have been following Jalen Hurts' press conference for 3 years. The press availability, that's not like his favorite time of the week. That's not like his number one thing on his agenda that week. So for him to stay later and say, hey, I want to answer this question about the Cardinals, I think that speaks a lot to his mindset.
He said he had such a good point that we're not overlooking this team. On paper, the Eagles are a stronger football team, but it's the National Football League and everybody's going to bring their best every single week. So there's no denying that he takes this game just as serious as any other.
No doubt. And he's going to have a big test here in this game against the Cardinals, Ella, because the Cardinals, they blitz the second highest rate in the entire NFL. And look, they don't always bring that pressure home. They're last in sacks. They're 25th in pressure. Opposing teams have found the ability to beat the blitz. But at the end of the day, when you look at Jalen Hurts, his ability ability to beat the blitz with his legs, to beat the blitz with his arm, he's going to have to mirror what other teams have done so far this season. Other squads have found the ability to burn the Cardinals blitz. That will be a big priority here for Jalen Hurts in this game. It's not the same, though, as what we saw in week 1, Ella, because when we talked about the Detroit Lions, a lot of man coverage, which meant that Jalen Hurts had room to be able to create with his legs. In this game, a lot of zone coverage. Jalen's going to have to know where to go with the football with his arm.
Miles Sanders had a career day against the Jaguars last Sunday, over 130 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. The leader of this running back group, who's now climbing the NFL leaderboard himself. This is a top 5 rushing offense of the Eagles going against a top 5 rushing defense in the Cardinals. The Jaguars are also a good rushing defense, and the Eagles said, nah, we're just going to keep running it because that's what's working for us. Boston Scott, another inactive here today, but a big opportunity for Miles Sanders from Kenny Gainwell. Maybe we'll see a little more Trey Sermon.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you look at Miles Sanders, the way that he was able to get going in the run game last week, obviously a career high in carries, but downhill, he was so decisive. Really impressive game from Miles Sanders. But just this running game as a whole, I think they did an outstanding job of just accounting for the backside. Ella, it's not like Jacksonville said, yeah, you know what, we're not going to worry about the run. They loaded the box time after time after time, and the Eagles always had answers for that extra defender in the box. You're always worried if you're going up against the Eagles offense. The quarterback run game, Jalen Hurts keeping the football, getting out the back door. Jalen Hurts throwing the football to those RPOs to Dallas Goddard and to Pascal and to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You're always worried about that as a defense. So often, the Eagles going into the run game, they wouldn't block 2 guys on the backside, 3 guys on the backside. And now you've got a big-time numbers advantage on the front side. And Miles Sanders, he was the benefactor of those plays.
As we bring in these offensive starters, we first have to talk about the left tackle position. Jack Driscoll will be in at left tackle for Jordan Mailata. Big opportunity for Driscoll, but he's not inexperienced. He has played along the offensive line at times, and when I knew this week there was a possibility that perhaps Mailata would not be able to go today, it kind of brought me back to a press conference with Jeff Stoutland early in the season. He was asked about the development of Jack Driscoll on the heels of Isaac Seumalo and how Seumalo is so versatile, and he's been in all 5 positions on the offensive line. And Stout said, that's what I want of Jack. I want to see Jack be able to be plugged and played whenever we need. And today's a perfect example. Left tackle, there's a need. Driscoll's going to step in.
Driscoll, his versatility is so important, and it's pivotal for this Eagles team, especially Andre Dillard still coming back from his injury. So him being able to step in and play a position that he hasn't done a ton of over the course of his career. You have to go back to his days at UMass early before he transferred to Auburn to when he played at left tackle in a game, Ella. And so big kudos, big ups to Jack Driscoll for coming in and doing that on short notice last week against Jacksonville.
Whose game will it be today? I feel like that's the question before every game nowadays with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. We talk about such an incredible running performance last week that you forget that you still got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to throw to, who are still putting up numbers every single week. 400 or more total yards of offense in all 4 games. It's going to be interesting to see what they do today.
And that's the thing. I mentioned last week, Jacksonville, they loved loading the box against the Eagles. And if you're going to load the box, what does that mean? That means you have less defenders out in space to worry about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Now, with the weather last week, Jalen Hurts couldn't necessarily take advantage of that as often as you'd like. With the passing game, with the wind being what it was, with the rain being what it was. But when you look here in this controlled environment, Arizona, they might have some questions about being able to handle and hold up one-on-one on the outside with those guys and contend with this run game.
We talk about the playmaking ability of these wide receivers so much. Yards after the catch, though, Dallas Goddard ranks 2nd in the entire NFL with most yards after the catch. He has been such an asset, such a creative use of a tight end in this offense so far. He's putting up the numbers, but he also just kind of adds creativity to what they can do offensively.
If I had a fantasy team where I could start Dallas Goddard and say, like, I'm going to pick him as one of the highest producing tight ends in football here this week. I love this matchup with number 88 going up against this Cardinals defense that not only has struggled against tight ends, Ella, but they have just struggled in general against against players that work the middle of the field. Isaiah Simmons, a young linebacker, 4th-year player out of Clemson, a former top 10 pick. He has really struggled in coverage. And when you look at Nick Vigil, another guy, has really struggled in coverage, and he's on injured reserve now. So they're going to their 4th linebacker to be able to step in there. I think when you look at the Eagles offense going up against this Cardinals defense, that's an area I think where they can excel. I love Dallas Goddard and his potential in this game.
How about this tight end group, too? They got some swag, Fran. This is how they showed up to the game in Arizona today. Check out these outfits.
See, like, but here's my question. Like, you say swag. Like, if I showed up to the kickoff show with that outfit, like, I don't know that you'd be saying, like, I had a lot of swag. I just don't know if I can pull that off.
I just want to know whose idea that was.
That's a good question. Like, is it
Jason?
Was it Jason Michael's idea?
I
like,
don't
is
know.
that tight end coach?
This is the hard-hitting journalism we got to get to this week.
We got to get to the bottom of this
one. Complex. Well, the Philly fan base is fired up about how the season has started. There's a lot of questions about just how far can they go. Jason Kelce was asked if he thinks this offense can be compared to that of the 2013 and 2017 squads. Here's what he had to say.
Skill position-wise, yeah. I don't know that I've been a part of a receiving corps as dynamic as this. I mean, between all three receivers, you can add in Zach Pascal with that too. You add in Dallas Goddard, the running backs that we have. I mean, there's quite a few playmakers on this offense. And then the quarterback and his abilities, both in the pass and in the run game, there are a lot of things that we can do. And it's I would imagine that's hard for defenses to stop. So, yeah, I think if, if we stay healthy and we stay working hard, I think that, yeah, we can be just as good, if not better than those years.
Sunday against the Jags was the Eagles' second time this season with over 200 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. The offensive line has played elite football. They'll be up against, like I said, a top 5 rushing defense in the Arizona Cardinals. So another big challenge for them, but nothing shakes this group of 5.
Honestly, that was one of my 3 big takeaways walking away from the tape last week against Jacksonville, Ella, was the play of Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, and Landon Dickerson in particular. I thought all 3 guys outstanding. They are the engine that makes this offense go, especially when you need to win on the ground like they did a week ago against the Jaguars.
Well, Jason Kelce and offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland have a history that runs deep. No better person to speak about Stout than his longtime center.
Stout's hard to describe because, man, you can't really fully comprehend it until you're in there with him and being coached by him. And obviously he's extremely knowledgeable, experienced, and strategic and able to building a game plan and something that's conducive for the players. He tells us all week, everything I do is to try and put you guys in good positions to succeed. And he does a phenomenal job of that. And that's one of his strengths. Then another one of his strengths is he's an outstanding technician who understands how to hit run blocks, understands how to teach pass blocking and footwork and all of that. But I think probably his greatest strength is his intensity, his passion, and his energy. I mean, I cannot believe sometimes it's you're in awe of how much energy he brings every single day. How much he just never stops coaching. Guys will joke about it. Other coaches will joke about it. Because it's just so jaw-dropping the amount of endurance he has to coach people. And I think that's why you see backups go in the game and you play well. You see he just can't help himself. It's just kind of like he was made to be an offensive line coach.
Jonathan Gannon has put a top 5 defense on the field this season, leading the league in sacks, takeaways, and opponent 3-and-out drives. This unit's got it all, Fran.
No doubt. I think I always just kind of reflect back to what we were saying about this defense a year ago at this time, where, look, they're going to go out, they're going to play the same coverages almost on a weekly basis. They're going to rely on their 4-man rush. We want to play our method of defense. We want to say that we're going to make offenses drive the field, matriculate the football, the length of the field. We're not going to give up big plays, and we're going to rely on them to make a mistake. Now, what is the difference between last year and this year? Well, number one, guys are a little bit more comfortable, so the execution on the back end a little bit better. The ability to be more flexible with their pressure schemes a little bit better. You add in guys like Hassan Reddick and James Bradbury and Jordan Davis and Kaiser White, and you go down the list, and all these guys, they've got a knack for taking the ball away, for pressuring the quarterback. The pressure rates are sky high with this defense, and they are now creating some of those big plays, those game-changing plays that they lacked a year ago.
To be able to hold opposing offenses on third down. How important is that as you're kind of making your way through this daunting 17-game schedule to be able to get offenses off the field really quick, put your high-power offense on the field to put up some points? That's a big point of emphasis for this defense. It's something that they've been so successful at.
I think third down defense is one of the most important numbers in football. Third down defense. Third down offense, because of teams going for it on fourth down, could be a little bit wonky. But I think when you look at third down defense, that is so important. And to your point, the Eagles leading the NFL in 3 and outs on defense, I think that is so important, because this is now a group where if you can create that one negative play, your chances of an offense, of scoring, of putting points on the board, drops significantly. So you get that one play. Maybe it's a TFL in the run game. Maybe where the Eagles have been awesome early on first down. Run defense, Eagles are one of the best in the league. And then, again, pressuring the quarterback, that creates negative plays.
How about your defensive player of the week, Haason Reddick? TJ Edwards, the leading tackler, Kaiser White, has been disruptive. What a year for the linebacker group so far. But when you talk about Haason Reddick and what he's done, kind of a home run in terms of free agent signing. He's listed as a linebacker, but he's much more than that.
No doubt. We had his position coach, Jeremiah Washburn, on Eagles Game Plan this week, and it's important to note, he is the defensive ends and outside linebackers coach. So Haason Reddick, every single day in practice, he's not working with TJ Edwards and Kaiser White in individual drills. He and Patrick Johnson and Kyron Johnson, they are working with Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat and the rest of the defensive end group. So, and that's where things can kind of get a little bit wonky. That's why there was all the discussion back in the summer. Is this going to be a 3-4 scheme or a 4-3 scheme? At the end of the day, this is a multiple front defense. Haason Reddick, he's much more a part of the defensive front than he is the second level with TJ Edwards and Kaiser White. But at the end of the day, this is a really good football player.
I asked Reddick this week at his locker, what does JG's defense do for him? How has it unlocked his skills? He said, it allows me to be me. The scheme, the defense, just allows me to be me. I go out there, attack, use my instincts, my intuition, my smarts, and I play ball. And you kind of can see him playing that way. He plays free, and now he's going to be up against the team that drafted him out of Temple in the Arizona Cardinals.
Hey, you got to give the Owls a little bit of a shout out there. I think when you look at Reddick, look, he'll have a little bit of juice going into this game for sure, but just the first player in 17 years, Ella, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries in one game. Jared Allen, the only other player to do that since sacks have become a stat. Just outrageous performance last week against the Jaguars.
Well, here's what Jonathan Gannon had to say about Haason Reddick.
I think what you guys see, the guy, I mean, he's got a very unique skill set. As I always say, the first thing that anybody we bring in here, and I love that the head coach is in alignment with myself, because this is kind of personal for me, is football character. Does he love ball? There's a lot of talented guys out there that, I don't think really love ball. And I think that's how you build a really good team, is the more guys that love ball and their team first, the better chance you have to win consistently. So that's always the first thing, and Howie and Nick have done a great job, because the unit that we have right now, not one of those guys doesn't love ball, and not one of those guys isn't team first. So that's the first thing we look at. And then from there, with Haason, he affects the game. He makes big-time plays. He has a unique skill set. We use him different ways. Even if he doesn't show up on the stats sheet, we deploy him in a way that creates good matchups for other people. So he's always helping us win the game, he's one that I'm in his ear about different things, and he's got really good ideas, and we use a lot of them. And, he's team first, and it's a production business, and you see the production happening.
The Eagles headed back to the locker room. A lot of Eagles fans greeting them as they went through the tunnel. Getting ready for today's matchup. What are the 3 things you'll be looking at?
Well, one thing we haven't talked about yet, Ella, is the Eagles have to find a way to contain Kyler Murray. And I thought Ike Reese made a great point this week on Eagles game plan. It can't just be about contain and mush rush. You have to pressure Kyler Murray. He's actually the worst quarterback in the NFL if you look at passer rating when he is pressured. So it's not just contain. He will drop back and try and find ways to pick you apart. You've got to pressure him, but be disciplined with your rush. That is going to be a big coaching point with those guys, especially off the edge. Don't let Kyler get outside the pocket. Number 2, we talked about this at the top of the show, burn the Cardinals blitz, make them pay if they send extra defenders after Jalen Hurts. That's going to be a big theme to watch because no matter what, there's no question about this in this game, Ella. They're going to blitz Jalen Hurts. They're going to send extra defenders more often than not when he drops back to pass. That is number 2. Number 3, attack those linebackers in coverage. I said it earlier. The Eagles can absolutely win this battle in the middle of the field. I expect Dallas Goddard to be a big part of this passing attack in this game.
We now welcome in Dave Spadaro, who joins us out west, looking a little warmer than he did last Sunday at the Link. Dave, what does the defense need to do to be ready for Kyler Murray here today?
Ella, before I get into that, I do want to say something about the crowd here. I was just told that, according to the Cardinals ticket takers, 30,000 Eagles fans in a capacity of like 75,000 here. So, I mean, crazy, right? Crazy. Like we have to keep track of this every week. It's just amazing. Look, the defense, they've been working on Kyler Murray really kind of every day, right? They play against Jalen Hurts. In 7-on-7s, they practice the scramble drill. Defensive backs have to be disciplined and stick to their coverage. Force him to stay in the pocket, as Fran just said. Discipline on the edges, pressure up the middle. Kyler Murray's run for like 91 yards this year. Like, it's a weird offensive dynamic for a team that has not scored in the first quarter of any games, only 13 points in the first half of their 4 games. It's not the Kyler Murray so far, but today that continues. But everything the Eagles have done in preparation is about limiting the explosiveness of Kyler Murray. And they practiced it every day in those 7-on-7 drills. The scramble drill, today they apply it in a game situation.
The Eagles haven't won in Arizona since 2001, Dave. They're going to want to break that streak today. Why is it such a tough place to win?
It's a great question, Ella. I mean, I'll tell you that I think the Cardinals are a less than good team. They're not even a good, they're a bad team. They struggle. Their defense has no structure. Their offense is just kind of like draw it up in the sand and go. They are not, the Eagles are a much, much better football team. Yet, and that's been the case in the past, but 6 straight losses, including a loss in the NFC Championship game in the 2008 season. It is a difficult trip, time change. How well did guys sleep last night? You get up, you're a little groggy, you got to go. The Eagles have tried traveling on Fridays out here. They now travel on Saturdays out here. And to this point, no success since 2001. Today, we all agree, us and the 30,000 plus Eagles fans here, this is the day that streak ends.
All right, well, I'll let you go. Enjoy those 30,000 plus Eagles fans, Dave. That was your Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro joining us live from Arizona. Well, our social team was at it again this week. The unmanned camera has been a favorite amongst Eagles fans this week. The players were asked the hard-hitting question, does a straw have 1 or 2 holes? Here's this week's Social Spotlight, presented by Ponley Hockey.
Does the straw have 1 hole or 2 holes?
It's 1 hole, bro.
It's 1 hole.
It's 1 hole.
It's always
one hole.
It got 2 holes. Stop asking stupid questions. So you think like when they go manufacture these, they go shoot that top and the bottom with 1. Oh no, it's 1.
How is it 1? It's 1 straw with 2 different sides.
Straw have multiple holes if you cut it up, but they have 2.
That's just 2 straws.
It's one way in, one way out.
Oh, it's nothing because it got 2 sides to it. Gotta have 2 holes. It gotta have 2 holes. That does make sense. That makes sense.
No, y'all trying to make it make sense.
One side is a hole.
I'm done.
But one side is a hole and another side is a hole. So what they count? 1 plus 1 is what?
What do you call the
Listen,
thing in between?
if you have a closed straw,
So what's all that space in between it?
and you open one side.
What's all the space between the 2 holes if there's 2 holes?
The Kickoff Show is delivered by Little Caesars, proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Order online during the Pizza pregame and get it delivered or pick up in store in the Pizza portal. Pizza Pizza. Fran, we're about to go to your Rico extra point, but I have to tell everyone at home, we were arguing about this, if there was 1 hole or 2 holes in a straw. Hopefully the players sorted out their differences and they've come together for the game today.
I mean, I don't know that we've sorted out our differences, so I hope that they have. Clearly the option, or the correct answer, is that a straw has 2 holes. But with that in mind, let's get into my Rico extra point, because I think when you look at this Cardinals defense going up against the Eagles offensive line here in this game, we talked about a big matchup. Jack Driscoll stepping in for Jordan Jordan Mailata, he's going to see plenty of J.J. Watt. Now, the Cardinals like to move J.J. Watt around. He's going to line up inside and outside. But one thing that is very consistent, they like to find ways to create one-on-one matchups for him, even in their four-man rushes. Here's a good example of what you'll see. We talked about how often they like to blitz, but when they go into their four-man rush, Ella, one thing they like to do is use a tilted front. Now, tilted front is when you take three guys, you move them over to one side of the formation, and you isolate J.J. Watt on the other side. You put all these other bodies over on the other side, and it's a bunch of different sizes, heights and weights, all the different lengths. But what you're trying to do is get that left guard, that guy lined up next to Jack Driscoll. That's going to be Landon Dickerson in this game. Get him to go to the three-man side. How do you do that? Well, one way, use a three-man stunt. Use that defensive end on the opposite side, loop him around, try and take the eyes of Landon Dickerson away, create that one-on-one matchup. Another way is to take one of those linebackers. You'll see Isaiah Simmons, you'll see Zaven Collins mugged up on the line of scrimmage. Again, take the attention away for Landon Dickerson, create that one-on-one for J.J. Watt against Jack Driscoll. Something to watch in this game. I don't think it's going to be an issue every single drive. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10. Watch out for those isolated examples where they use those tilted fronts to create that matchup.
What's so interesting about that breakdown is through 4 weeks, every defense has tried to do something different to disrupt Jalen Hurts. They've seen something different every week, and nothing seems to work.
No doubt, and that's been one of the most impressive things about Jalen Hurts so far this season. He has been unflappable against pressure, whether he's winning with his arm or with his legs. When the defense poses a question, he's got an answer. But like I said, a little bit different here this week with the amount of zone coverage they play on the backside of those pressures.
Well, please join us on the post-game show presented by Rico. Immediately following the final whistle, Ike Reese, Fran Duffy, and myself will give you a full review of all that went down in Arizona. The Phillies beat the Cardinals last night. Now it's time for the Eagles to do the same. The Birds are out west and poised to go 5-0. Let's see what Nick Sirianni has cooked up for his red-hot team today. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the game and go Birds.